Thanks for tuning into the Carrie Handle podcast. Here's your host, Bryce and Kevin.
Welcome back to the Carrie Handle podcast. With me, as always, is Kevin. My name is Bryce, and eventually I'll have some. I think I'm gonna have to start reading the intros out. How are you, Kevin? He's still muted. He's still muted. He's still muted. There it is.
Because you don't unmute me. You never unmute me.
You have your own mute button.
You have the power.
Not only that,
people.
but I think you actually muted yourself that time.
No, I didn't. I watched it. You didn't. I didn't click anything.
So I'm gonna play Friends of the Channel.
We want to take this time to thank Friends of the Channel, who provided us 10% discount codes for our listeners. That's you, and we don't get kickbacks. First is Hammy 3D Prints. Thousands of products for firearm storage and other fun stuff, too. Code CarryHandle10. Eastern Shore Sling Company. Handmade rifle slings and custom sewing. Dog leashes, too. Code CarryHandle. 19 Charlie Tactical. Gunsmithing, Kydex holsters, thousands of drop-ship gun parts, accessories, tools, firearms. Code VKTR10. And lastly, I want to thank myself for all the scheduling and all the shenanigans I deal with daily. Thank you, Hannah.
Yes, thank you, Hannah, as always, for putting up with our shenanigans. I unmuted Kevin this time, so I am the one that's helping.
Thank you.
Kevin, how are you? Are you doing well?
I'm
working up to the intro here.
I'm well. I've often asked myself if we can ever have like a manager on to speak about stuff. You always want to ask to the manager. I mean, it's we always
yes, it's very.
Show me the manager, Bryce. Show me the manager.
Show the manager. Well, we have one now, Mr. Eric Luley. Apparently, I can't talk today. From, can you pronounce how do you pronounce the name of your company? I'm so sorry.
It's Vector.
Vector. I always thought it was Victor.
But I've heard it both ways.
Okay, all right.
Well,
yeah, it threw me through a loop. I've been saying Victor the entire time. Now I feel like
it's all good, man. Don't feel bad.
Perfect. Well, so for the people that may not know you or your company, just tell us a little bit about you guys.
So my position at Vector Industries, I'm the national sales manager. I've been doing that I'm coming up on 3 years now. So the company officially has been around almost 3 years. So I've been with the company kind of from the start. Prior to that, 24 years, retired from the military, and I kind of bounced around the industry. I spent 5 years working at Knights Armament, and then Norma Ammunition, where both those positions were specifically on government law enforcement programs and military stuff. And then coming over here, I do focus a lot on that. That's kind of like I call it the side hustle, because the majority of as a newer company, the majority of our stuff is getting out there into the commercial market and stuff like that. So we have a sales rep group that does real good. They're all over the country, and I manage a lot of what they do. And then we have our Bill Vitello. He's our TALO, which is Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. He's our sales manager out there. So I'm in Florida. I just happen to be based in the Southeast, which is a key demographic for our growth, as well as Texas is another key demographic. And when we get into the conversation about suppressors, you'll kind of see why. Florida, Texas, Georgia, Arizona, states like that are pretty big for any company that wants to kind of break out and get into that into the AR world, so to speak.
And now is that specific? I guess we can touch on that a little bit now. Is that just purely manufacturing related, or is it just sheer volume of buyers?
So it's really nothing to do with manufacturing. It is specifically we look at it, and this is somewhat subjective, but it's other people in the industry. The biggest states for suppressor ownership, Florida, Texas, Georgia is a pretty big state, and I'm pretty sure Arizona is in that list too as well. And you'll notice by some of the big suppressor manufacturers out there, they have factory reps that actually operate out of those areas because they're so key to the growth. So us, as a company that is marketing and selling and manufacturing a piston AR, a piston rifle that is, I'm not going to say specifically designed, but functionally works really well with a lot of the modern suppressors. That makes that a key. Those areas are key to us, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, you kind of broaching that subject a little bit more eloquently than I was going to, but you make piston ARs in today's market, which is interesting because Kevin and I have referenced future weapons. I'm sure the listeners are familiar with that. The first time I heard piston and AR-15 together
Oh
was
yeah.
a bald black guy shooting a 416 upside down. So
Well, you can shoot it
how
upside down. That's pretty
we
cool.
can shoot them with a beta mag that looked amazing. That's the only time a beta mag's ever worked, by the way. So for the listeners that may not understand, when we talk about piston ARs, what specifically are we referring to, or more specifically, what are we in what way are we referring that in your product line?
Okay, so in common terms, if you're talking about a piston-driven AR versus a direct impingement, a direct impingement has gas pumping down the gas tube. It unlocks the bolt carrier, dumps gas in the system, and that helps operate the system. You have long stroke and short stroke piston ARs, so therefore you have a an op rod or something in there that cycles, and the gas comes out towards the front, and it moves that op rod, and that helps unlock the bolt. And that's the difference in the operation of system. Traditionally, um, companies, well, you look at H&K, look at SIG, LWRC, which are all great. I mean, they make very traditional piston-driven ARs. They tend to be heavier. They tend to have very big handguards. Some of them have systems that are not interoperable with like a DI gun. So, like having a piston upper receiver, I can't just put it on my SBR lower. So that's kind of the problems. That's kind of solution to some of the problems that we had with a piston gun, is trying to make a piston gun feel and operate as similar to a direct impingement gun as possible. So that's kind of where we come from as Vector
Hmm.
into that system.
Interesting.
Now, are those because of the traditional, I guess, benefits to a piston AR, or are there specific set of requirements that you guys were chasing when you were designing this rifle?
Just it just a lighter, better system with, and without an adjustable gas block. As you know, like a lot of the piston ARs uses an adjustable gas block,
Yes.
which is obviously for a lot of the, the military focused companies like H&K, LMT, that adjustable gas block, you got to have it there because guys are running suppressed or unsuppressed. Where we try to set out is how can you do a piston AR in the same way where it's kind of self-regulating, so the it bleeds off gas in the system. We don't have to use an adjustable gas block. An adjustable gas block brings in some other problems into the situation where you have carbon buildup and fouling and stuff like that. So we get a lot of customers that will buy our rifles and they're like, "Oh, I need." We just had one the other day. It was like, "Oh man, I got back from the range and I field stripped my VK1 piston rifle and I went to take the handguard off and da da da." So we're kind of like, "Hey, sir, taking the handguard out and taking the gas block apart is not part of the field stripping of that rifle." It's got a self-cleaning system, so when it
Yeah.
bleeds off gas, it allows you. I mean, we've got customers with upwards of 20,000 rounds that have not cleaned the gas block area of the AR, which is something that you wouldn't really do in a traditional DI platform. It wouldn't even be a question.
Okay. So
Interesting.
now, really quickly, when we say your gun is a piston gun, you're short stroke piston, correct?
Correct.
Just so people understand what we're talking about. Now, in is this based on the LWRC system or any of existing systems?
There is some DNA based on that system. This is kind of the improved system that on the LWRC side. So it does not have an adjustable gas block. It's got 6 gas holes that allow gas
Mm,
to bleed off based on how much pressure's in the system or how much it needs to actually operate it. And that really comes into play when you add a suppressor to the front of the gun. So that's where, obviously with no suppressor on it, just like a DI gun, if you don't put a suppressor on it and you're just shooting ammo, you're really not doing anything to the system, right? Your carbine buffer, carbine spring, everything's running. to kind of make the joke of like, oh, you've got your 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock ejection. I mean, something that was made in the 1980s for a 20-inch rifle, it's gonna be significantly different depending on, what you're using. So that system really comes into play when you're introducing a suppressor and on all guns, and, obviously all guns. So what we traditionally like to one of the benefits of the piston system, of any piston system over the DI gun, is you're getting some gas. Obviously, you're getting residual chamber gas when the round fires, but you're not getting that direct carbon dumping into your bolt and bolt carrier. So what we find is cleaning the gun. I mean, I can literally take the bolt out, wipe it down, spray some lube on it, throw it back in, and you're ready to go. Obviously, prolonged use, you still have to do a little bit more cleaning, but you're not taking a carbon scraping tool and going in there and getting that stuff out, and so it makes it much more user effective, for the maintenance side of the house.
Okay. So, and now touching on maintenance, I know on some of those legacy systems when we were effectively converting DI guns into piston guns, even on a
Mhm. Yeah,
on a factory production level,
yeah,
I know we were having issues with carrier tilt, especially when it was going into the receiver extension. Have
right.
you guys mitigated that at all?
Big thing on the bolt carrier is adding a little bit more weight on the back end of it,
Mm,
just to kinda balance it out a little bit like that.
yeah.
But yeah, that's the number one way that you can kinda do that, I mean, to fix that problem. But honestly, I mean, there's a whole slew of other issues that you can argue with, and I think that is the one that was easiest to mitigate. And I think you see LMT doing the same thing. They've got a little bit more beef on the back end of the carrier. The big difference, I mean, if you look at like DI systems, right? We could all get together tomorrow and go out and buy a bunch of parts and build our own DI company and call it the carry handle rifle or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
it's open source, it's all out there. There's only
Right.
so many ways you can do piston systems, and most of those things are already out. They're already out there. So there's not too many
Right.
new people coming into the market. So if you look at like SIG, H&K, very traditional. I mean, these are, even though into the civilian populace in the United States, DI guns are extremely popular. If you look where the military is going, I mean, H&K, M27, piston gun. The new SIG, M7, it's a piston gun. If you go to Europe, a lot of the standing armies out there have used piston systems. Um, so that is so it's just for whatever reason it's taken off a lot. The DI system has taken off significantly more in the United States, and I think because it's from the home builder ARs, right? It's a lot
Yeah.
easier for a guy to build a DI gun, and I do it. We all do it, right? It's just a simple thing to try to build a piston gun. It's a little bit more involved, right?
So how we've talked about the weight
Int
and we talked about additional complexity. And you've said you've made it lighter. How were you able to have made it lighter? Because I mean, the Caracal, the Sig, and the HK are effectively all the same designer. LWRs,
Essentially,
Paul designed y'all's or contributed to y'all's design as well, right?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
the big thing
right,
is taking weight out of. Well, number one, you don't have the adjustable gas block, so that's a big. That
right.
not only
Okay.
keeps the weight down, but that keeps the slim line, keeps the rail a lot slimmer. You're
Mhm.
taking, a heavier profile, um hammer forged barrel, and you're fluting it, and you're moving some of the weight out of that, and then you're also taking weight out of the handguard. Now, some could argue that you could use a seven-sided M-lock, like a traditional, weight, but that's where we kinda, for cooling purposes and weight purposes, that's really where we ended up taking a lot of the weight out. And then we used everything is in the same profile of a direct impingement gun, so you could take your piston upper, like, so
Mhm.
we sell piston uppers in a kit, comes with the piston, the carrier, the buffer, and everything. You could drop it in on your existing DIAR, and you're ready to rock. You don't need to change anything. So,
That's pretty compelling. Well, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
looking
yeah,
here
that's really
for
yeah.
anybody that isn't aware. One thing that makes their brand very distinct is how aggressive their cutouts are on their rail,
yeah,
and
Yeah, they are.
it almost looks like it would be too much. But playing with them, it's not too big to where you get like it's not like the Ruger Sapphire or whatever where you can get your digits inside of it.
yeah.
It's not that bad. It's actually
So I
it's
will
pretty
tell you,
intuitive.
I'm a gun guy. I like to shoot guns, and I do a lot of stuff. I
Yeah.
would recommend anybody that is gonna purchase the gun, or they're gonna use this gun, You're gonna probably wanna put a burn-proof grade, like a rail wrap or front. I mean, I know a lot of people do that on DI guns, but you're gonna wanna use, like, the
It gets warm.
Magpul, something up there to keep that heat mitigation down because it does get warm up in the front, especially when you're doing prolonged strings of fire suppressed and, we got people that use gloves and stuff like that, but a good rail wrap on there will save your life.
It's interesting how myopic a lot of people are, at least in the US or in the US market, where people we've gotten this, especially since COVID, which was beautiful. Everybody wanted guns, and I love that. That's
Right.
awesome. God
Everybody
fucking
bought everything, right?
Thanks,
yeah, and
COVID.
that's awesome, and I love this. But the problem is now we get a bunch of AR guys that got bored, and now they want to try something else. And when their piston AR gets a little hotter than their DI one, they're like, "Oh, they have like a meltdown." It's like different designs have different attributes to them. Like my G36 also gets hot in the handguard. You're
Well,
all you're doing. The best
yes.
way to visualize this is you're just changing the expansion chamber from in your receiver to your handguard. You've
Right.
just
It's
moved.
not in your
Yeah.
face. You've already
Yeah,
got, like, a bunch of tiny explosions right next to your face when you're shooting, so now
yeah.
you wanna put even more in there, and, I mean, obviously, with the advent of higher flow cans and stuff like that, that helps, but you're specifically like we had an agency come to us, they're like, "Oh, we want the, what's the Radian charging handle, that the SD charging handle," and I'm telling them, like, "You don't need to pay for this. That only works when you're getting direct impingement gas coming up right up the front. It's not the same." And it's the argument. It's just like the argument of suppressors non-high flow versus, you know, standard suppressors, right? Pretty much everybody in 2018 was laughing at OSS/Huxworks when they made a high flow suppressor. It was like, this will never take off." Next thing you know, literally everybody is on that train now. I mean, we're talking SIG, Knights, they've all kind of jumped on that bandwagon. So
Yeah, when I was younger, a lot of the time I would say if Surefire's doing it, it's probably the way people are going. And
right.
now they've released what, 2 high flow suppressors already.
Yep. Yeah, there
But
there there definitely there's a demand for it. They wouldn't do it, there
yeah,
wasn't a demand for it. And
right.
3D
So
printing 3D printing allows you to do so much different stuff than in traditional baffle cut welding and trying to do all that stuff. So yeah,
yep,
it's definitely the next
absolutely.
generation.
Absolutely. Now, so you said that there is more parts commonality with this than any of like more of the legacy design or some of the older piston guns. Now, the handguard is still proprietary then, correct?
Correct. So we actually that's a really good question because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, hey, can I put um another handguard, like a Geissele handguard on your gun?" The
Right.
problem is you have the barrel nut that goes over, and then you have a piston sleeve that drops on top of that, and that guides, so the piston's not just free floating in there. The piston is being guided into that sleeve to allow it to operate and keep everything balanced and stuff like that. So you can't just take your handguard and throw something else on there. I'm sure somebody would machine something eventually, but it's not gonna have the same effect. So it is
Yeah. So
proprietary to the
Okay.
to the gun.
okay. Okay. Are you guys projecting are there is there any interest in making any other handguard options, or is this pretty much just it for a bit?
We're always, obviously, this is gonna sound like the bullshit answer. I mean, we're always evolving and we're always improving. I mean, we updated our handguard from when we first released. We changed it, made it a little bit more robust. Well, I say we made it significantly more robust, where, like weight, taking things out and making weight was like it was almost too extreme. So now we're gonna jump up and make it more robust and add more mounting points. And then yeah, we're always looking at new things to do to, improve the system, and it's usually based on customer feedback. Fortunately, from, like, our customers and, like, dealers, when I get to go around and, like, knock on doors, that one hasn't come up too much, the handguard
Mm.
system. Usually it's other, "Hey, are you guys making up any other calibers?" Doing
Yep.
300
That was
blackout,
my
stuff
next
like that.
question.
Yeah.
So,
That would
yeah.
have been my next question.
So the 300 blackout is gonna be something that obviously we're always looking at different stuff. The problem with the 300 blackout from an engineering aspect is we've designed a 5.56 rifle that will essentially shoot any caliber of or any type of ammunition in the 5.56 family without having to change anything on the system. The operational envelope between supersonic and subsonic 300 blackout is so significant that
Yeah.
in that piston system, we have to re-engineer how it operates or something or design something specifically for that uh, like if you look at it like a suppressed upper receiver group or something like that. And I try to explain that to people and they're like, "Oh, that makes sense." Like when you're shooting a 77 grain 5.56 Sierra Match King versus a, you know, PMC bronze, even though it's a softer projectile, like it's obviously not loaded as hot, it's still going to operate the system. But you're significant. You're like, we had a guy that emailed us one, "Hey, I'm shooting 5.56 subs and your system is not working." Yes, it's not going to work. Like you just can't do it, man. I was like, who number one, who's doing 5.56 subs? I know they exist, but they're not Sammy spec,
Yeah.
and it's just like, come on, man.
No. They're gun broker Bubba specials.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, don't be
Well,
talking about my
it's
Bubba like that.
it's interesting. The 300 Blackout is effectively two different cartridges in the
Yeah.
same chamber. It
Right.
really, I mean, the operational envelope, just like you're saying, is so much so that people bitch and moan. There was a certain, I can't remember, this certain configuration of Sig Rattler got released, and it was designed specifically for like a specific loading that SOCOM was using because it worked very, very well with that rifle or with that ammo. But then people are trying to put their dog shit, like cheap as
Right.
chips reloaded
Chinese
subsonics
freaking
through it. And
whatever.
it's like, it
Yeah.
won't work.
So
Mm,
that's
You're right.
a
It won't.
yeah, so
super interesting way, like on the consumer market, as how like I've said this before in the past, because I've been involved in military programs and acquisitions
Mhm.
and stuff on that side. It's like something will win a government contract for a very specific product that a very specific customer asked for their mission. And then the obviously, think about it as you want to make money. So they're like, oh, we're going to release this to the commercial market, but it's not for everybody, right? Like, so like a scope that has an increasingly tiny sky eye box that costs $4,000 because it was made for a very specific end user, or a suppressor that's 3.5, 4 inches long that was made specifically for a system on a 13.7 disc gun. And people want it. I mean, I like, hey, go buy what you want, but then it doesn't do what you wanted, and you're like, oh, this this is a piece of shit. And you're like, well, is it really? It's like it wasn't really made for you.
Right. There
yeah,
was a very specific
less
set of
plug and play.
requirements that this needed
Yeah.
to fulfill. This is
Right.
no longer applicable. Which is it's cool, and that's the one thing we kind of have in the US where it's like we can buy what if we see a thing we can go, I want that
Right.
thing. But the
Yep.
problem is you can also share your opinion, and sometimes your opinion is bad.
Yeah, well, I
It's-
mean, the consumers, they want plug and play. Plug and play. If it doesn't plug and
Yeah.
play, they hate it.
Well, I think
Yeah.
we've learned over the last 10 years that ARs are not exactly quote unquote Legos, like the people call them. I mean, there's a lot of working different things that you change anything on that gun, from the muzzle device to a suppressor to a buffer or a buffer weight, whatever. I mean, you're changing essentially changing the functionality of that gun.
Well, we talk about goofy things being adopted or getting accepted or even being maybe misunderstood. I remember, if anybody recalls, the Geisley 6-second mount, which was like this very, very busy mount that supposedly, I think CAG or Delta or somebody that needed for
Somebody
a Glock.
tried it, yeah.
Yeah. And then there was like 3 dudes that actually may have used this thing. And it was just like everybody bitching and moaning about this very specific thing. And it's like,
Hey,
this
man.
one guy needed it. So like, no. Or like the Flux Raider after like Soft Week, we're like, oh, I
Yeah.
wonder who's using those now.
Right.
But like
I think the big thing too is looking at excuse me, is looking at it from an aspect of there's a people that that are out there, the consumers that like to collect things, and then there's people that like to shoot, and then there's everybody in between. So like the people that like to collect cool things, like cloners and stuff, that's a whole different market, right? Guys are like, oh man, this is the new thing, we got to get it. Usually those aren't the guys complaining about the applicability of the product, though.
Yeah.
Usually it's people online that are never going to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. It's people that I often feel like I'm wasting my time, or it's mostly I feel like I'm wasting my time because it's like I'm arguing a thing like this is better than this thing, or anybody that says this is better than this thing and then try to argue with it. It's like, no, first of all, I'm not doing that with you.
You can't let them. You can't
But-
let them bring them down to their level of
you're-
stupidity.
Yeah, you're not gonna buy this thing anyway. Why am I
Right.
like? I just feel like I'm screaming at a wall.
And even if they do buy it, they're only gonna put like maybe a box or two through it. a
Look at
month.
the
Yeah.
evolution of the high mounts, right? We started out like you remember you had like the Knights, the original red
The
back horn mount,
skyscraper.
Skyscraper,
Yeah.
that was like the
Yeah.
OG.
Yes.
Then you had, like Unity Tactical came up with one, it had the which I actually really like the Unity one.
Yeah, I
Now you
actually
have
don't
like
mind that one.
GBR, like all the like this, like that. It's like, hey, we're gonna change this, and it's like it's gotten to the point now where people are like, oh, you don't really need that, you don't want to do that. Like it's height overboard. There's all these different things that are involved in it. It's like, man, you went from one extreme, one solution to a problem to like that's the thing. Like
Well,
we're gonna go
and
3 inches height
it's
overboard.
I don't know what the fuck. We were talking about it for gas masks for 10 minutes, and people were like, "Oh, well, it's the neutral," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what has happened?" It's like
Yeah,
it's
so
like
And
a
that's one of the
four
trends.
prongs.
That's definitely one of the weird trends that you can definitely see in the, firearms industry.
Well, so okay, so we're talking about trends. So seeing that you got a lot of windscreen time, you go to a lot of different shops, and obviously we're getting to this. We kind of touched on it earlier. Suppressors, and obviously your rifle works really well with suppressors. What are you seeing in terms of market requirement or market demand for suppressed rifles? Like, I mean, like how popular are piston ARs becoming?
I think you're seeing a group of people that, were trying to solve, an overgassed direct impingement system with a high flow can or something like that. And I think you're seeing a lot of people that are starting to look to different piston. There is a few different piston systems. Obviously, you got one extreme. You got like HK 416 or MR 556, whatever you want to call it, that are $4,000. $4,000 or $5,000 for that. And then you've got other ones like you would have. Oh man, not Anderson. What was the piston guys? Adams Arms, which I'm not even sure if they're still around. I don't know what's going on.
They were bought by somebody else, so technically yes, they
Okay.
do
So
exist.
their patents and stuff are still around. Somebody owns it. So and then you
Yes.
got that stuff that are making that. So it's just like with DIs, man. You got extreme. You got your Knights, your LMTs. You got your Palmetto State Armories. And I think where we fit, we're somewhere in between. We market it as a lightweight, run suppressed, I don't like to say truck gun, but like something that you can it's a light, fast carbine that you can, if you're gonna engage targets anywhere from 10 yards out to 500, that's what you're gonna use it for. And you don't have to worry about it's less maintenance, easier to clean, lighter weight, it's suppressor ready. That was kind of like where we were targeting. That's kind of the market we were targeting at. We're not going off it's not a long range precision rifle gas gun like the Ridgeline LPR, stuff like that. That was specifically made for that. But you can definitely like my 16-inch gun I have set up. I mean, we pushed it out to 900 yards with 77 grain 5.56. So it's now do I know what effect that's having on target? Not, but it's hitting steel, and
Right,
so
right,
it's
right, right.
a
The bullets are
capable
going
gun.
there.
And like again,
Yeah.
I am no like great shooter. I'm like an average guy that goes out and like to play at the, I like to shoot at the range. And if I can do that, I think the gun is very capable from a piston system.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so one thing I do think you guys should market a little bit more aggressively is kind of like the niceties and some of the more, I guess maybe an armor would appreciate it more, but like your cam pens. I think those are like the directional cam pens I think are really interesting.
It
I
is, yeah,
like
it is.
the
Yeah.
I like the impact surface on your gas, or I guess what would be your gas key is domed. So it's instead of it's a flat space, it's actually already concave, which is very interesting. Hard chrome, very well thought out. I see the flange on the end of the carrier.
From the
So I mean,
maintenance from the maintenance aspect is not having to worry about state gas keys, that break in. I don't have to worry about
that's
gas
one
rings
Yeah.
going
piece.
out. Say that again?
That's a one piece carrier.
It is a one piece carrier.
Wow.
I don't have to worry about gas rings or anything going out. It's
Right.
not
Hard
cheap to
chromed.
make either, man. That it's so what it actually is, it's not hard chrome. It's what we call a thin dense chrome. So it's
Okay.
superior in lubricity and the ability to clean. It holds onto the oil a little bit better, and it's a little bit easier to clean. So with hard chrome, you can get like flaking and stuff like that. We don't have
Mhm.
the same issues. So
Interesting. Okay. That's really cool. I like I like some of those internal components you wouldn't otherwise, I guess, notice with some of the other ARs. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely if you're in front of somebody and I've got 3 minutes to talk about the gun, it's not the priority, you know what I mean? Like, you try to bring up the stuff, but when I find
I
that
know.
guy, no, you're right. Like, when I find that guy that's like, "Hey, man, I wanna nerd out and
You
I wanna know
found
about all this stuff," then they understand it, and then they're like, "Okay, this is cool." Like, this is all that additional stuff comes into play.
Well, so that was something I was talking to Kevin before you came on. Is you do have a premium price tag with your rifle. So I mean, you need to people need to understand why this isn't just a BCM or it isn't just an arrow or RIP, I
yeah.
guess. But
What are they getting
you know what I
for
mean.
what they're paying for?
Yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I guess this is also an ambi or it has what ambi bolt release.
Full full
It's
ambient
got more
controls. Yeah, full ambient controls.
right. Now, they're it's a forged upper and lower?
Correct.
Okay.
And I do say, like, the ambi controls are all billet cut, so no MIM parts on the gun, and they're all kind of like the way I see it, if you've got a rifle in 2026 over $2,000, you kinda gotta have some kinda ambient controls on it or something like that. Like, you've gotta give that consumer something more versus, just a standard. I think you saw Daniel Defense just start doing that. They came out with that. They kinda realized, like, "Okay, we can't just keep doing this, and,
Yeah.
we're gonna ask $2,400 for a gun and not have ambient controls."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
kind of the standard now of the industry to have ambi.
Something,
Yeah.
at least something, yeah. I'm not a big fan of bad levers, but, so people still use them.
Right. Well, so I guess the only thing I would like to see on this rifle is a means of which like you can lock it open from the right side and not just drop the bolt.
Oh, no, you can lock it open
But
from the right side.
you can.
Yeah,
Well,
so
excuse me. I
it is
apologize.
literally it is a one-piece design.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, okay. I'm
Okay.
Hold on
looking
one,
at it
hold on one.
now.
Interesting. Well, that's all I care about then.
Well, what else do you care about, Bryce?
So here's the
I
rifle
don't
right
really care
here.
about dropping the bolt that way, but I like locking it open.
So
It's
I
really
can lock it
cool.
open, one finger,
Oh,
Fuck
and
out of
drop it on the
here.
same one.
wow.
So it
Oh, okay, cool.
it's
So there
almost
you
like a
go.
two-stage trigger. So, like, when you lock it open, it'll hold, and then you kinda just squeeze it, you'll get a little bit of resistance, and then you're in. So,
Wow.
Well, I'm glad I mentioned that on air.
yeah.
That's sick. Okay, so then we're right back to I have nothing more to add. What trigger does this come with? Sorry.
Standard Hyperfire, single stage, 4.5-pound trigger.
Damn. I don't really have anything to critique here. That's it's
No, I
pretty well thought
so
out.
I've had a couple places
Nicer.
like, "Oh, why didn't you use a Geissele trigger?" And, like, here's my argument. A Geissele trigger is like $250. That's $250, or let's say $200 that I gotta add somehow to the price of the gun, and people are weird about triggers, just like the selectors, just like their ambi charging handles. So, if you don't like our trigger it's a damn good trigger. You can run it fast, you can do what you gotta do with it. If you don't like it, then you have an opportunity to go give, Bill Geissele your 170 or $200 to upgrade the trigger is a very easy upgrade, right? It's
Yeah.
something that anybody can do, so that's kind of like the argument is, like, I don't wanna cook another $200 into the price of the gun on an already premium price, when we do that. So one thing that we did change, we started this, like 2 or 3 months ago. Every rifle comes with instead of having the A2 flash hider, we have a Plan B muzzle device on it. So every
Okay.
gun is suppressor ready out of the box, with the exception
Wow.
of our Huxworks 13.7, and that's got the Huxworks on it. So
Okay.
we kinda give the ability, for everybody to kinda run that universal mount on there. I mean, they can change it if they want, if they're running something different, but that does add to that, like, "Hey, here's an out of the box solution for a suppressor host."
Yeah, that's really cool because it helps just get people like, normal people to the range.
Right.
Just buy the rifle, buy the suppressor, put it
You're
on
ready
there,
to go,
and
man. Yeah, all you
ready
gotta
to
do is
go.
throw an optic on there and you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
on your
What's the,
podcast. I hope so.
Bryce, we've been over this. If I don't say it, you'll just keep rambling. Uh,
What?
so So, like, quality control, like, how hard do you run these guns? Have you had, like, do you quality control them, and how does that go?
I mean, as far as, like, testing and stuff like
Like,
that, or
yeah, like, testing, like, is there a failure point? Have you shot it, like, X
I
number of rounds and it's
so we
failed?
have yet to find a barrel, or and when we talk about failure point, usually the things that are gonna fail are gonna be the bolt or the barrel. That's kinda like the thing. We've got a couple, guns that are international that have pretty high round counts on them. We've got a couple, man, I wanna say full-time SWAT teams running all suppressed, easily approaching 25,000 rounds, which I is crazy. I don't even wanna say that number just because that's when you start getting like, "Hey, I gotta change extractor, ejector springs." Like, those things are gonna have to be changed no matter what. You could have the strongest bolt, but those springs out there have to be changed.
Yeah,
Couple of
it's
my
still a
demo
service life.
my yeah,
Right, yeah.
my demo guns that I bring out, we've done pretty extensive testing either before and after, and, as you know, professional end users or customers that you have it, they usually do a better job than, like, in a lab and just, dumping rounds, and so we get to see, you know, how much the like I said, the suppressor puts a lot more wear and tear on the gun, and I think that, I mean, I hold it up against pretty much any gun out there for what you're getting out of it, and again, it's the argument of, you know, 95% of gun users, not even close to that are gonna bring their gun past 10,000 rounds, right? But we wanna
Right.
have it for that
Yeah,
one
that's
that
fair.
does. That those guys that do, they don't have to do anything to the gun, they change it. Plus, I mean, our thing is we have a lifetime warranty, so if you shoot out a barrel, I want you to contact us. I wanna get you a new barrel, and I wanna check out your barrel and see what you did with it. That's that's just for us.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's free testing and
Yeah,
evaluation,
and
right?
not only that, I mean,
It's
hey, man, if you could afford to shoot out a barrel, you could probably afford
yeah,
to buy a
right.
whole new upper, right? That's the argument I always say. I was like, "Man, if you're unless you're shooting like 6.5 or 6 arc or some one of those oddball, different calibers, if you're shooting out a 5.56 barrel, like, hey, man, you got some money."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, so now you brought up six arc, and we've talked about calibers. I mean, are you getting a lot of demand for six arc?
Um, we're getting I th I think the carrier and the long advanced cam path. Now, I'm not gonna say this because we just started doing some stuff and looking into that. I we sent out a couple of the carriers to some people that are using the 6 millimeter arc, and it does solve some of the issues with the pressure and stuff like that because of the extra 2 degrees in dwell.
E
The
Yeah,
problem with
explain that carrier so for people that may not be, familiar with that design.
so in layman's terms, essentially what people do when you're when you're running a gun in an overgas state, or you're running a gun in really any state, most people will try to fix the the recoil or fix the overgassing by putting heavier buffers, heavier springs in the rear. With the alteration of the cam path, the way it's designed, it's adding 2 degrees of dwell in the system. So what it does is it smooths out the recoil. So for specifically for the piston gun,
This is
um
the Gen 2 carrier?
yeah, so for the piston gun, it makes the recoil feel like more like a sewing machine. So it's more of a straight back into your shoulders versus an up and back. And then the DI carrier, which is a drop-in solution for a lot of rifles, you put it if you're gonna run a suppressed rifle, drop it in there. It's gonna smooth out. I think I don't know if you guys know Mike Mills over at Tactical Considerations.
Mm-mm.
He did a
Mm.
really good YouTube video demonstrating how the rifle operates in with our DI carrier in a standard. I think he used like a BCM, a Geissele, and a Daniel Defense. And he put the carrier in, then he shot it with a regular carrier. And the way he demonstrates it is you can see the ejection patterns kind of change a little bit. And
Okay.
people get wrapped around the ejection pattern. That's not really what matters. What matters is that the system is changing and him as a guy that's doing a YouTube video, you can't show the recoil is changing in your shoulder, right? You can feel it. You can feel the
You
way the
just
system
need an
changes,
analog.
Right.
but
Yeah,
Yeah.
something to
he's
point
showing like, "Hey,
to.
look,
Yeah.
you were ejecting at 2 o'clock at this point, put the
I
carrier
gotcha.
in, now you're at 3:30 or whatever." So that was a really interesting video seeing it from a different thing. So that the carrier really It smooths out the system. Your cam is not coming in contact with the upper receiver at all. Um, and it's a big thing, man. It's like for the piston system, I think the piston carrier with the self-regulating gas system, it's it's phenomenal. The gun shoots phenomenal.
Well,
Awesome.
it's interesting to look at your portfolio, and it's AR-15s, but also 2011s. So I mean, we've comprehensively
I was
covered your piston
wondering
guns.
when we were gonna get to the
I am
2011s.
curious what I mean, because I mean, I knew of you guys making piston rifles for a lot longer, and then just at what, this year you guys dropped your 2011s?
So true story behind this. It's probably been over 2 years in the making. We've been working on the double stack 1911 for a while. We had a prototype. We showed it at not Shot Show this year, Shot Show last year. So you can imagine how long that was. I mean, that was a year and a half, well, a year and 7 months ago now. And then we released it right before Shot Show this year, because we're trying to go really with the from us, because there's so many issues with um different states we can't reach into with the AR platforms, different places that we can't sell to. It gives us a market. Obviously, the 1911 market is obviously all over the place right now. I would probably argue that it's from the mid to low end, it's pretty saturated, right? I mean, they're everywhere. And so when we came out with our double stack VKP Pro, our thing was we want to make a semi custom pistol that is gonna be a step above what everybody else is making. So, you got your Kimbers, your Staccatos, you got your SIG GTOs. Those are all kinda like in that 2,000 to $3,000 price range, depending on what model you get. Then you have your Springfield Prodigies, and then you have all the Middle Eastern, different companies that are making stuff. Like, I mean, it's sure they're great products, but that's a different thing. So the goal that we were gonna be like, how can we make a US manufactured handgun that's gonna be assembled by a gunsmith, that's gonna have, our single piece trigger in it, which is a huge deal, have our coating, have all that stuff, and it's gonna be all US made. That's what kinda had us we ended up we moved everything to Missouri, and then we started that's how we started assembling and manufacturing there. So, that was really our goal, was like, we wanna have a suite of products that you can choose from the rifle to the pistol, without being a striker fire pistol, obviously, because there's $1,500,000 Glocks, right? Like, we weren't gonna make another Glock clone. That was not the goal. So, that market, when we came up with that price point, we looked at the cost of the gun. We came up with a really good package. You're getting 4 Atlas mags. You're getting 3 optics plates, all steel optics plates. So I was not a big 1911, 2011 guy until I got my hands on that, and I started looking at that and shooting that, and then looking at what some of the competitors out there, and I think what we're making is probably punching above its weight class, even though it may be out of the price point for everybody, right? But we can't make I can make like 100 to 150 a month, you know what I mean? I can't make 1,000 a month, so it's a different production capacity than somebody like Staccato or Kimber right now.
I gotta unmute myself. That might
Yeah.
help. So, just really quickly, you're saying it yourself that there's a bunch of people in the 2011 game. What are the just kind of like bite-sized nuggets that make this one different than other ones?
So, big thing is, so our everything on the gun, so a lot of companies will use metal injection molding on the peripherals, like the selectors, the hammers, and all that stuff. Everything on our gun is machined out of a piece of steel, billet steel. The trigger itself, if you look at some of the triggers where it's like two-piece trigger where it's stamped or whatever, ours is a solid piece, one-piece trigger. You're getting a lot crisp take up on it. I mean, 2011 triggers are great anyway, but you're getting way less on your return. The trigger, just it feels smoother, it feels crisper. The hammer, the barrel is extremely accurate. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge pistol shooter, but I'm pretty impressed with the accuracy. I mean, we've got, I don't know if you know J.R. Crosby down there in Florida. He's a
Mm-mm.
competitive shooter, big MMA guy. He's
Okay.
shooting it, and we took him out. We did some stuff with him, and I mean, he was after like 5 rounds, he was begging steel at 200 yards with it. So pretty impressive. And then the big thing is the coating. So we're using the Armor Lube DLC. So Armor Lube is the it is not like a normal DLC. It's basically, if you look at like Geissele's nanotech, nano weapon technology, and all that other stuff like that, that's exactly what it is. But this entire pistol is coated with that, so it allows it to be much. It's much durable. Like you can't scratch it. It's just extremely smoother. It's easy to slide. It maintains. Like I've got my demo pistol that I use. I'm coming up on about 4,000 rounds on it, and there's like very little play on the triggers, or excuse me, between the slide and the frame, like almost like it's brand new. So those things, with the slide, the trigger, all the metal pieces, all that stuff adds up to a value to the consumer. You're getting the 3 optics plates, so you don't have to worry about, like, chasing down. A lot of companies are like, "Oh, you're gonna buy another $100 optics plates," and then, you get the magwell with it. Even the grip, even though it's a polymer grip, it's a carbon polymer infused grip, so it's much harder than a standard, like, Glock. Like, if you look at a Glock or a SIG, or it's not the same polymer injection molding. So we put a lot of thought into it, our engineers and designers. That was really where the money was. That's where we were looking at. Like, we wanted to give something to the consumer it's not just another 2011, right? We put a little work into
Right.
it.
Yeah. And it's
I
American made.
know. Yeah,
What's
I
that?
know
Yeah.
initially when this launched, I did see some sticker shock, but I think it's important to lay out. People complain, and this sort of hits home a little for me because recently I was trying to talk about a handgun a couple times, and it has Cerakote finish, which rightfully I'm not a massive Cerakote guy, but people are like, "Oh, I want DLC," and I'm like, "Do you know how much it would cost for them to DLC this entire gun and try to keep it under 2 grand?" And I haven't. It's not happening. So it's interesting because I mean the features, like, so your front sight, that's a Glock front sight,
It's
I
Glock
believe?
style, but it's an XS sight.
Oh,
Perfect. Okay. So
XS
it
sight.
is a Glock footprint though.
Yeah.
So it's got these kind of when we're talking about your ARs, is they're very well thought out. So there's a lot that goes into them. And like the finish on the guns, I am I when I played with your example at the event we met at, that was it's I know everybody says glassy, but I mean it just it
what
doesn't
was
feel
it?
it
Was it
feels
glassy?
very. Yes, it
Yeah.
was very glassy. It was
Oh,
so
okay.
Buttery
nice.
smooth. Yeah, glassy, buttery.
Buttery.
Yeah.
Buttery smooth.
But did you
So
air rack it, Price?
no, because that's for influencers I don't like.
I my arm's not the same as it used to be, man. No, so the
Yeah.
interesting thing is, man, if you get off the internet, if you get off the comments on the YouTube channels and stuff like that, and you get onto the internet and actually start looking at the number of small arms, high-end 2011 manufacturers, $4,000 is not a huge price. I mean, when you start looking at, like, I mean, I could, like, I can't even name off the top of my head, but I mean, you look at Dark Forge Reaper. I mean, it's like $7,200,
Yeah.
$7,300. You've got Atlas Gunworks, anywhere between 6 and 8 and $9,000 depending
Miller
on what you're doing.
Precision.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a
Yeah.
number of Accuracy X, like small batch companies. You look at Jacob Gray. That's another example. I mean, their gun is $4 to $6,000.
Watchtower.
Yeah. Oh, look at Watchtower.
Yeah.
That they started out at $4,000,
Yep, that's
and
where they started. You're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they
I
had
forgot
their
about that.
influencer, and that's people were complaining about that because an influencer was hawking it. It's like
Right.
it's a reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting. So that was one thing Kevin and I have been running into, is there is a bit of an industry fatigue, and it turns out it's just because YouTube, I think, has made everybody really tired. Like we're all just like beat down because like we have the same 10 influencers
Well,
dropping the same review at the same time, and I'm just
well,
like, oh my
I mean,
god.
if you think about it, before COVID, like someone would share a video of a gun, and you would do some research on it, and you had to kind of dig to find the information. It wasn't all super readily available. Now, post COVID, it seems like as soon as a gun drops, every known influencer and their brother has a copy of it. So
Well, a lot
you're
of the what a
bombarded with it.
yeah, what a lot of the big companies do is they will pre-stage, and I'll say I'm not holding out on SIG or anything. I'm just like SIG or FN or whatever. They'll take 30 guns or whatever their number is, and they pre-stage it to the influencers, and then they tell them like, okay, hey, here's your media embargo. Go out and do your review, and then on October 1st or whatever the date is, that's when you can launch it. So you get like literally everybody to get the
Yeah.
maximum content possible. They all launch on the same day. And then at that point,
Yep.
you're like, okay, what's going on? Right. It's like,
Yeah,
so that's,
it's
that
all
is
literally the same content.
right. That's
too.
that's a newer concept. Like when I came into the industry in 2017, I mean, there was some gun tubers out there, but it wasn't to nearly the level that it was, where people were
Well,
just dropping everything at once.
and the other thing too is like I feel like the gun companies give out better production guns than they sell. Like
That's possible.
the influencer gets a
Possible.
better gun to do
That's
content
possible.
with.
That's a common sentiment. Whether it's now just being on the other end of that, just the logistics involved for you to run down and try to cherry pick one gun for one influencer when you're sending X amount of out the door. I don't know about that, but I mean, to some degree, maybe. I'm sure that could happen.
Well, maybe
But-
not cherry pick, but they run like a specific batch knowing going to.
Yeah, I don't think that happens as much as people think it
Well, there
happens.
was
but
a-
I
there-
think it does happen.
There was an extremely high-end gun company that sent out a handgun to another influencer, and they had a lot of issues with it, and it got sent back to the factory, and the company didn't fix it, sent it back out, and it backfired pretty bad on them. I
You're
tell you,
talking about that Redbeard chap.
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying who it is. I'm just saying
Oh,
I am.
if you're an influencer
Yeah.
and you send a gun back to the factory, man, we're either fixing the damn gun or you're getting a new gun. Like there's no,
Yeah.
especially if it was for a giveaway, if it's for like a raffle or something like that, like that's
Oh my
wild to
God,
me.
I know. Yes, for
Right.
this thing that allegedly happened. Yes, that's. Yeah, that was pretty egregious.
So yeah,
But either way, so on the side of I guess the manufacturing, what is it like for you guys trying to market an item like that with so many influencers? Where do you start your marketing? How do you know where to start?
you obviously from a marketing perspective, you have to look at. So I'll give you an example. If I have somebody that's working that knows carbines real well or rifles or whatever, and they are going to take a VK1 and they're going to show it to their audience and they're going to go over it from tooth to tail and they're going to go over the shooting, that may not be the same guy that you're going to send a high-end 2011 to, right? So I have people literally every day in my DMs, "Hey, I really want to collab with you. I want to get a free gun. I want to do this." And I wish I was a millionaire and I can give everybody free guns, right? And I wouldn't be a millionaire. None of us would. But then you look at their audience and I'm like, okay, so you're on Instagram or you're on YouTube, you've got, 10,000 followers, you've got whatever. Then you kind of do a deep dive and you're like, okay, here's all your reviews. Like you're doing reviews of guns that are sub $1,000, sub $500, like Glocks or Ruger RXMs. Nothing wrong with them, but that's you're building your followers and your subscribers based on that. If I put a $2,200 rifle or anything, if I put a $2,200 rifle, if I put a $4,000 pistol in front of you, I have no doubt that you'll shoot it and run it and get a good review. But your audience is just gonna look at that and be like, "Oh, this is
sticker shock.
dumb." Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Sticker shock.
It's gonna be no ROI. You know what I mean? So there's you got to really weed out the guys that are gonna do good, that are gonna help you out, and try to work with them versus just throwing it out to everybody. It's like throwing spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. That
Right.
that gets expensive real quick.
I've
Yeah.
done that in real life.
Yeah.
Well, just looking at the sheer amount of Instagram people the amount of people that try to go to SHOT Show, and I love when you do the sign up for like any of the media stuff, and they're like, just because you have a fucking Instagram does not mean you can come as media.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I remember. So I was at my first SHOT Show. I think it was 2018, 2019. It got really bad with everybody that was just like, "Oh, I'm so and so with an Instagram." So they kind of opened the floodgates to let everybody in, and then they significantly over the last 3-4 years, especially after COVID, they clamped down on that. So business, as a business, if we're spending $40,000 or whatever to bring all our people and go to SHOT Show, we're getting not only access to people that are supposed to be there, like dealers, buyers, but people that are actually gonna, and because there's nothing, we want influencers there. You want content creators, you want you want those type of people to come, but you want them to come to actually like build content and like talk about the stuff,
Yeah.
not just
Right.
walk around.
They're gonna
That's
do
because
do quality
then it gets too
content.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because then companies are like, well, okay, who are you, and how do I know? How do I trust you?
Right, right. And
Right.
it's interesting. That was so this was I, I say all that, but Kevin and I went to SHOT Show under the Carrie Handle podcast banner, but
Hey, do
I
it, man.
also write for
Yeah,
people, so
yeah.
I was there for other reasons. But the it was interesting to see first of all the sheer quantity of people that didn't actually look like they were interacting with anybody at all.
Right, just walking
So
around.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm just like they would take pictures, but then like they're not talking to vendors. They're not doing anything other than picking up a sticker and then walking away. It's like,
Or they'll
why
just
am I
scoop
waiting behind
they'll
you?
scoop all the magazines out, and they'll throw it in the
Yeah,
thing, and you're like,
yeah,
"What's going on? What are you doing with all these magazines? All these
yeah.
brochures or pamphlets or
I
whatever?"
I don't understand because so there I've always now granted I grew up like I'm older than YouTube, so I can say I grew up in the infancy of GunTube to what it is now,
Wait, you're
and I've
older
always
than
wanted to go to
YouTube.
SHOT Show. I've always yeah, both of us are. We're older than Google, we're older than YouTube, buddy. That's just math.
I'm
Kevin's looking it up
Googling it.
for people.
Oh yeah.
He's verified. I know we
Yeah.
are. It's
Wow, you
okay.
are. That's
I
crazy.
think what they
Like
say,
handily.
I think Justin Bieber was like one of the first like viral videos, or one of the first viral videos that went on. You, I mean that was a what,
Yeah.
2000s? Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, so I've always wanted to go. And Kevin asked me this year. He was like, why is this the year that we went?" And I was like, "Because I belong there now. Like I work this is my job. Like I
Yeah,
didn't want to go before
right.
cuz what the fuck am I doing there? Like,
Yeah. Hopefully you
who
don't get sick.
cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I did get
definitely
sick.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he
man,
got pretty
you
he got
gotta earn
sick
your
pretty
stripes,
bad.
man. You gotta get the SHOT Show cred at least once.
I was sick on the floor with like I was dying. Like
So
fucking I was trying to make it back to the hotel room just dying. I'm like,
I have a theory
"Oh."
about the SHOT Show crud, and the
Yeah.
theory is that you don't get it working the show, you get it at all the after parties and events that you try to go to, because the first 3 years that I went, when I got in the industry, I was sick as a dog every time because I was trying to go to different events and do all that stuff, and, I mean, as I started getting older, I mean, I'm 50 now, man, I'm on the floor all day, I'm tired, I'll go out to dinner or whatever, so the last 3 years, I haven't got sick at all. So my theory is it's from all the after hour stuff that everybody does, and, like
Yep.
talking real close to each other and stuff like that. That's how
So then
the shot
the
crud
only place
spreads.
we went, I think we went to Hofbrauhaus, and that was the only place
Well,
we actually went out.
I think you got food poisoning.
Oh, yeah, that's the second event, by the way, that him and I have been to that I've gotten food
Food
poisoning,
poisoning is
which is
not good, man.
crazy.
It's not good.
I got food poisoning at Suppressed Fest from the fucking Outback or what was it? Outback
Yeah, I think
Steakhouse.
so.
Uncooked pork, man.
Oh,
It
that
was still
fucking ruined
it
me.
was delicious
I was
until
dying.
until it wasn't.
I hated it.
Yeah, no,
I
I
fucking
get you.
hated it. But well, Eric, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on
man.
and talking to us about your all the stuff that you guys got going on. It's really interesting to see a
exciting.
company that
Yeah, pay
develops the
attention
way
the
you guys
next
got
6 to 8
into.
months. We've got some other cool stuff we're working on.
Okay.
Obviously that's, you can't rest on your laurels in this industry. Or
Okay.
any industry, man. If you get into any hobby level enthusiast industry like off-roading or surfing, or you always gotta have new stuff coming out. And, so we're trying to solve those problems the same way.
That's awesome. Well,
Look forward
well,
to
so what I'm hearing is we're gonna have to have you back on. That's what I just
that's
heard.
what it
Yeah.
'Cause
sounds
there's gonna be
like.
more to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, so for the people that don't, where can the people find you
Um
and your guns?
Biggest thing is check us out on our website, www.vktrind.com, and then check us out on Instagram at VKTRIND. That's Believe it or not, we get more customer interactions through DMs on Instagram, random stuff like that, questions, stuff like that, and then info email on our info box kind of thing.
Okay. Awesome.
right.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you again. And thank you to the listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making this possible. And thank you for taking the time and listening. We wouldn't be able to do this without amazing people like Eric and people in our industry and listeners that give us
And
the time of day.
and viewers like you. Thank you.
Or listeners, because this isn't a video podcast, Kevin.
Well, maybe if they're schizophrenic, they're watching in their mind. You don't know.
Oh my God.
They're
That's so much
visualizing it.
worse. Yes. All right. I'm going to roll the outro. Thanks for
Listening
tuning in,
their
guys.
All
car.
right, guys. Thanks.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Very cool. You should like and subscribe.
On Facebook and Instagram.
And Twitter and Spotify. You should listen there too. If you
Aren't they
heard
listening
this on
to
Spotify.
this on Spotify right now?
Well, they could be, but there's also YouTube podcasts. So, you know,
Ooh.
all of the places.
We always forget where we post this stuff.
We don't know where this is. Thank you for listening wherever you're listening to, but you should also like the other places that we are. And
Who
then
are we and what the hell are we doing here?
yeah, I don't know how we got here. So thank you for letting us talk directly into your ear holes.
Right to the brain.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Adios.